Doctor Who, The Web of Fear, the 12th story of the Second Doctor, is written by Mervyn Haseman and Henry Lincoln, and starring Patrick Troughton, Fraser Hines and Deborah Wattling. The return of the Yeti, Great Intelligence, and Jack Wattling as Professor Travis, and the introduction of Nicholas Courtney as Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, although it's Colonel Lethbridge Stewart in this story. So this is the final story to be filmed as 35mm film, as they use 16mm film in the next story. Apparently the BBC was accused of illegal filming in the London Underground. Douglas Camfield, the director, said they had permission from London Transport to film the Underground, but they get charged to do so, and it was so expensive, so they used the sets, which is accurate, and the props of Yeti and control spheres are reused. So the story begins with the TARDIS tipping over, Doctor, Jamie and Victoria about to fall, so Jamie managed to get to the console and close the TARDIS door after dealing with the salamander, which worked pretty effectively. You could feel yourself in the TARDIS tipping over. So in the mansion, Professor Edward Travis is staring at the Yeti artifact, so his daughter Anne and Julius Silverstein came in, and there's an argument because Professor Travis said the Yeti is dangerous, as they attack in 1935, which I don't know much about that event as I haven't seen. The Abominable Snowmen, as I'm still waiting for the story to be found somewhere in the archive or the animation to be released as of time recording. What I like about that scene is Dark Mansion with the Yeti artifact, and the way the music is played is pretty grim. It fits in really well. So after Professor Travis and Anne left, Julius is alone. We get scary moments where the flying sphere breaking through the window, Yeti coming to life. It slashed Julius, and that was pretty brutal. So Victoria got changed, looking pretty. So the TARDIS team looked on the scanner as they're suspended in space with the TARDIS covered in web.
Something strange has happened. We're suspended in space.
You may notice that Jamie looks like he hurt his hand or something. That's because the console was hot and it did burn his hand a bit. He kept going without reshooting all scenes, as they have to be all in one take because of the budget. So Professor Travis gets taken to common room for an interview. So eventually the web came off the TARDIS and landed in Underground. So the TARDIS team takes a look around. After seeing a corpse covered in web, the Doctor split up from Jamie and Victoria. Victoria's noise gave their places away, so the military took them to common room, and apparently there's something going on and about to blow the tunnel up. And Jamie shouldn't lie about only him and Victoria is there. As the Doctor takes cover while there's two Yetis patrolling, the military press the button to blow up the Underground, and Jamie and Victoria gets locked in. As of part 2, the Doctor only appeared from the clip of the end of part 1 because Patrick Troughton was on holiday. Captain Knight questioned Jamie and Victoria on why they were in the tunnel and how they got there. So then Professor Travis came in, Victoria recognised him straight away, and it's a nice reunion. So Jamie went with Staff Arnold and his men to go down to the tunnel to search the Doctor. We get great battle scenes in the tunnel between the soldiers and Yetis. So eventually they stood still, surrounded by Yeti beeping, so it went, and everyone carried on what they're doing. As Victoria brings the tray of coffee, she overheard Anne talking to Professor Travis about thinking that the Doctor could control the Yeti. So Victoria came in and gave them coffee and went out. As Staff Arnold came back to the common room, and suspecting all three TARDIS team are missing, we get an amusing scene where Evans is walking in the tunnel singing. The soldiers confronted him as he's not part of the army. So Jamie and Evans separate from the soldiers. Victoria's walking alone in the tunnel, finding the Doctor. Jamie and Evans gets trapped in the area where the web's growing to seal off the tunnel, and a nasty noise that drives them crazy. Pretty scary. At time of recording, part 3 is still lost. For over 40 years after the story got released, all except part 1 is missing, and some clips have survived. Until 2013, part 2, 4, 5 and 6 have been found in Nigeria by a media recovery specialist, Philip Morris, and Television International Enterprises Archive. Part 3 is almost found, but it got sold to another collector, I think. So they released the DVD with Part 3 telesnaps.
Well, you see, Victoria...
Well, before you begin this rapturous reunion, there are one or two questions I'd like answered. For a start, is there anyone else down here playing hide and seek?
So then part 3 got animated by Shapeshifter Studios, and we get to watch it either in black and white or in colour. And the DVD got released in 16th of August 2021. It's so cool when they advertise it and finding dialogues to make Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor sounding like he's talking to us. It's pretty clever. So Jamie orders Evans to shoot the pyramids that Yeti's carrying and exploded the web and got out. Victoria's found the Doctor, who's with Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, well, Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, and that's how they first met, which is cool to look back. So Lethbridge Stewart escorted the Doctor and Victoria back to HQ. So back at the common room, the Doctor explains to Victoria how he met Colonel. So Lethbridge Stewart is taking in charge while Jamie and Evans is patrolling around the underground. The Doctor reunites with Professor Travis and wondering what brought the Great Intelligence back. As they attend a meeting, Colonel shows the map about people going into mist and never come back. 2 days later, the Yeti came, and if they fail the mission, it'll be the end of London and possibly England. This is like Star Wars meeting where the guy shows the rebel pilots the weakness of the Death Star. So as the Doctor, Colonel and Staff Arnold planning to put the charges in the tunnel, the Doctor went to see Victoria and Anne and noticed one of the Yeti doll is missing. So after investigating the danger room behind the door, the Doctor went back to Victoria, surely locked them up. The Doctor went mad with Victoria for telling them about the TARDIS. As Professor Travis and Anne heard the screaming, Professor Travis went to see what was going on in the observation room and found a corpse covered in web, and he's about to get attacked by a Yeti. Really unsettling. Patrick Troughton is the second Doctor. As always, brilliant. He goes for it. He's absolute fantastic, more than words can say. Fraser Hines is Jamie McCrimmon. I love that character. He has great chemistry with Pat, and I can definitely buy them as best friends. And I do love Deborah Wattling as Victoria Waterfield. She's pretty and her acting is fantastic. Deborah's real-life father, Jack Wattling, played Professor Travers the Explorer, a great character. He's got great developments. Nicholas Courtney is Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, an absolute joy to watch. The character is well written and developed, an absolute iconic and classic. Nicholas was originally going to play Richard the Lionheart in the Crusade William Hartnell's era, but the role went to Julian Glover instead. Douglas Camfield wanted Courtney to have a part in Doctor Who, so he played Brett Voyne in the Daleks' Master Plan alongside William Hartnell. Because Douglas Camfield is impressed with Nicholas Courtney's performance, he was originally casted as Captain Knight in this story, The Web of Fear. And David Langton was considered for the role as Lethbridge Stewart, but he was busy working elsewhere, so Nicholas Courtney played Colonel Lethbridge Stewart instead, which is wise choice. And look at him now. Ralph Watson played Captain Ben Knight, a One-Para officer. Yetis are robots created by Great Intelligence. I love these monsters, they should definitely bring them back. Great Intelligence is an entity which I thought is pretty cool. At least they brought the Great Intelligence back in Matt Smith era. Tina Packer played Anne Travis, who's a scientific officer and the daughter of Professor Travis. Jack Woolgar played Staff Sergeant George Albert Arnold, a Royal Engineers Corps 21 Regiment Senior NCO. Derek Pollard played Gwynfor Evans, who's a driver. John Rollison played Harold Chorley, a journalist and TV presenter. Frederick Schrecker played Julia Silverstein, a collector of artifacts and gets killed by the Yeti at the beginning. Rod Beecham and Richardson Morgan played Corporal Lane and Corporal Nicholas Blake, an officer of British Army. The casts did an incredible job. The sets and effects is well done for its time and low budget. The stop music is fantastic. So Anne gets knocked out and the Yeti drag Professor Travis away. After Jamie and Evans set the Doctor and Victoria free, they went down the underground and found Anne, who's unconscious. So eventually, after everyone is back at the observation room, the Doctor figures out that the TARDIS could be their hope to get out of this one.
Yours, this time-space craft. Could it get us out of here?
Yes, but it's at Covent Garden.
So later on, Evans, Staff Arnold and Blake investigated the tunnel. Arnold and Blake gets webbed up after going into the tunnel, while the Doctor uses a tin that Evans gave him for experiments, but nothing is in there. Colonel and his soldiers go out in London fighting Yeti is a blast to watch. Even if they use the music that's usually played when there's Cybermen, it's absolutely entertaining. And yes, I do love the music. So 2 Yetis found the Doctor and Captain Knight after the attack, and the beeping, the Yetis walked away. The Doctor survived, but sadly Captain Knight didn't. As all soldiers outside except Colonel has been killed, he retreated, so the only survivors in the room are the Doctor, Jamie, Victoria, Colonel, Anne and Evans. After Doctor finds Yeti doll in Captain Knight's pocket, he's found another Yeti doll in Colonel's pocket, realises that device brings Yetis to you. So we get a scary cliffhanger where 2 Yetis came in with Professor Travers possessed by Great Intelligence. So Great Intelligence through Travers said the trap was laid for the Doctor, so he gave the Doctor a choice to give himself up and everyone will be alright in order to wipe his mind. So he took Victoria away and gave the Doctor 20 minutes to decide. Man, that is scary, the way he walked, talked and having his arms like that. Watching this as a kid would probably give you nightmares. So while Evans stands around, Colonel and Jamie patrolling around, the Doctor and Anne are wiring the sphere so they can control a Yeti. After Evans is thinking that Colonel or Jamie is working for the intelligence, they think the Doctor is wasting time, so they head off, letting him get on with what he's doing. Victoria and Professor Travers has been released, and it's a great chemistry between the two, as I can tell they're father and daughter in real life. So Staff Arnold reveals to be alive but wounded. Professor Travers sends Arnold to give the Doctor a message. So Staff Arnold found Colonel and Jamie, and it's pretty funny the way Colonel said, "Evans, get out from behind the board." So while the Doctor and Anne got one of the Yetis stopped and switched a sphere, the Doctor has got control of a Yeti. As Evans and Staff Arnold are in the lab, the mist broke in, really intense. So Evans and Staff Arnold got away. Arnold wanted to warn the others, but Evans understandably was scared and ran off, which made Arnold mad. So Victoria and Professor Travers gets taken into Piccadilly Ticket Hall, where the big pyramid is in the middle of the room. The Doctor and Anne controlled the Yeti and told it to wait for 90 seconds and take orders from Great Intelligence. So the Doctor and Anne walked along and got themselves into Piccadilly Ticket Hall. Charlie ran into Staff Arnold, who's scared. As Brigadier and Jamie are in Piccadilly Ticket Hall, Charlie came in and said he's not with the Great Intelligence. It turns out to be Staff Arnold. He wouldn't let the others go, so he ordered the Doctor to go inside the machine in order to wipe his mind. So Jamie got one of the Yeti to attack the other Yetis and Staff Arnold. The Doctor didn't like what everyone was doing as he got forced out of the machine. He was trying to wipe the minds of the Great Intelligence, but instead is gone away. Staff Arnold has been taken over and obviously died. So Charlie wanted to interview the Doctor, so him, Jamie and Victoria quickly left, and poor Anne has Charlie interviewing her. As the Doctor, Jamie and Victoria walking through the tunnel, the Doctor warns them that the train might start run soon. Crikey. So that's The Web of Fear. It's a fantastic story, well directed and written, absolutely terrifying. What did you think of this story? Did it scare you? Drop your thoughts on the comments down below. Thanks people as always for watching, and see you in the next video.